Hello, welcome to this after dark batch cook with me. I'm in my 39th week of pregnancy now, so baby girl could come at literally any moment, and I'm really feeling the need to get some nice, healthy, wholesome home cooked meals in the freezer, which I know that I will really appreciate when baby has arrived. I set my sights quite high for today. I have a lot to cook. I am intending on making 2 family-size lasagnes, 2 fish pies, 2 fajita mixes. I'm making 1 chicken, like Mexican chicken bake, and 2 portions of bolognese mix. So that is quite a lot to make in a short period of time, and for many of those meals I'm going to be splitting them into 2-person portions, so they will go much further. And 4-year-old and 2-year-old who get a cooked dinner most days of the week at school and nursery, so it's mostly my husband and I that will be wanting a hot meal at home, and then my kids will want toast or a sandwich or something for tea when they get back. So I have done a little bit of prep because I didn't think anyone wanted to watch me peel and chop 2 kilograms of potatoes. So I have peeled and chopped some potatoes, I have peeled and grated some carrots, I have chopped up some mushrooms, I have chopped some onions. And so what I'm going to do first, I've got 2 large pans here. Each one has got 2 chopped large white chopped onions in. I'm going to add the mincemeat in and start browning that off. I have 2.5 kilos of mincemeat. The larger packs are a mix of pork and beef. The smaller one is just beef. So I'll brown those off, and then I have got my potatoes peeled and chopped and in hot water. That's for the fish pie, so I'm going to get that on the boil. Heat up the oven to 180 degrees Celsius and start putting the Mexican chicken bake together. So let's go. So to start with, for the Mexican chicken bake, I've got a 1/2 cup measure which I'm filling up with white basmati rice, 1/2 cup in each of the foil tins, and then I am doubling the amount of boiling water, so a whole cup of boiling water in each one. Don't be like me, remember to get out a couple of baking trays first and put whatever you are baking these into the baking trays. I got these foil tins from Poundland. I wouldn't normally use foil tins. I would use something reusable, but I don't normally do such a large batch cook, and I don't have enough Tupperware, and I don't want to buy more Tupperware just for this one batch pre-baby. And so now I'm chopping up some red onions. You can use white onions if you like. I've got 3 very small red onions there. If I was making this for my kids, I would probably use a little bit less because they're not mad keen on onion, but I'm just making these for my husband and I. Then I'm chopping up 2 peppers. You can use whatever colour peppers that you want, and evenly distribute the chopped pepper in between your Tupperware or whatever you're using to cook these in. Sometimes we're crashing down. Then next on the list we have 2 chicken thighs per dish. You can use chicken breasts, but I really like chicken thighs. I think they are a bit more juicy. And then once you have done that, you want to get a tin of black beans and give them a really good rinse. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, the sky is falling down. Distribute the black beans between your dishes. And And then I'm using a really large tin of sweet corn, using about 1/3 to 1/2 of the tin for this dish, and then I'm going to be using the remainder for the fish pie. Now I bought 2 of these fajita packs from Aldi for this batch cook, because I need to use the wraps for the fajita mix I'm making. I never use all of the seasoning in any event, so I'm using 1 of the seasoning packs for this dish, and then I've just got some garlic granules that I'm scattering on top. You also need some salsa. My husband and my kids do not like salsa, so I took both of the salsa packs out of the fajita kits, and I'm going to spread them between these 4 dishes. But if you like salsa, then just get an additional jar of salsa for this dish, and you want to give everything a really good mix around, and then you are essentially ready to put it into the oven. I did put cheese on top of mine at this point, but I kind of realised when I was doing it that I was doing it the wrong way around, because you want to cook it initially for 40 minutes in the oven, 180 covered, and then of course all that happened was my cheese melted and I had to gently kind of get that off the lid, which wasn't a major problem or anything, but after cooking them for 40 minutes covered, you then cook them for 5 minutes uncovered. So if I went back in time, I would put the cheese on at the point that I took the lids off. So I'm jiggling about there because I've got some music playing, not because I need a wee or anything. It does look like that though, doesn't it? So anyway, once I'd put the cheese on, I popped these into the oven. So now moving on to my fajita mix. I got these reusable freezer bags from Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description box. They worked out really well, and they came with the little bag holder that you can see, and that's height adjustable for the different size bags. So I'm chopping up 2 peppers. I've got red pepper and a yellow pepper, just mixing those together. I'm making 2 lots of fajita mix here, so I'm using half of the peppers in each bag. And then I'm getting the other seasoning pack out of the second fajita pack. I'm using half in each bag of fajita mix, and 2 scoops of the mince and onion mix, which is browned on the hob, and then just give that a bit of a stir, and that is your fajita mix done. So just repeat the process for the second bag. Now moving on to your lasagna mix and your bolognese. Now you've taken your fajita mix out, add a little packet of, I'm using chopped pancetta. You can use chopped bacon, lardons. I get the pre-chopped stuff, makes it a bit easier. Just give that a bit of a stir and start adding your veggies that you've prepped. So I did grated 4 large carrots, so 2 carrots per bowl, and then 1 box of mushrooms chopped there. Give that a bit of a stir. Then I'm adding in some crushed garlic, a couple of decent sized cloves per pot. We really like garlic in this house, and the kids seem to like it when it is in stuff. If you don't add as much. Chopping up 3 peppers here, 2 yellow, 1 red, really doesn't matter what colour you use, and then just split those. I do put in quite a lot of veg for bolognese and lasagna mix, just it's a really good easy way of getting veg into the diet, not just for the kids but for me and husband as well. So I know this is a lot more veg than other people might use, but we're super used to it and generally goes down very well. Now, one difference with the bolognese mix here is I'm adding oregano to the bolognese mix, but I'm not adding that to the lasagna. Then I've got Worcester sauce here, I'm adding that into the bolognese and not the lasagna. Really generous squirt of tomato puree for each pan. And then I've got a large jar of passatta, which I'm going to split between the 2. And then 2 cans of chopped tomatoes for each of the pans. So for the bolognese mix and for the lasagna, you want a good couple of tins of chopped tomatoes. And then if you think that your mix is not wet enough, then I would add some water, because you want it to simmer and like you want your meat to really soak up the taste of all the veggies and the tomato. You do want it to cook for a while you're doing your other meals, so you don't want it to dry out too quickly. And I'm adding a couple of beef stock cubes to each pan. I use the Kalo stock cubes because they are really low salt, and I've just got in the habit of using them since I started weaning my firstborn. And we we're just used to not having particularly salty food. My youngest is 2, so we could have a bit more salt in our diet now. You can use any stock cubes that you like, we're just in the habit of using them. And with baby number 3, very much prominent in this clip as well, but with baby number 3 being on the way, we're back to weaning. Before you know it, it's just easier to get in the habit, you wouldn't stay in the habit I guess, of using low salt food. So what I'm doing now, I've drained my potatoes, boiled potatoes. I haven't drained all of the water. I do leave a decent amount of water in there because it makes it easier to mash. I've put a really good portion of butter into each one and a good glug of milk. If you don't have as much water in the pan, you might need a bit more milk. And then I'm just giving these a bit of a rough mash. I don't want it super smooth, but equally getting like the major lumps out. And then I am decanting this into a glass bowl for later, but only because I don't have loads of saucepans and I need the saucepans to make the fish pie sauce. And I'm not buying more saucepans for the odd batch cook because I like how simplified my kitchen is now. So just taking out the Mexican chicken bake now, scraping the cheese off and popping those back in for 5 minutes just to brown on the top. And then I'm getting on with the fish pie mix. So I've got 2 fillets of smoked haddock, which I'm chopping up. Now, I'm tired, it is after dark, kids are in bed, and I've started to split these between my 6 trays. So these are 6 2-person portions I'm making. Before I thought, what are you doing that? You need to cook this first. So you don't need to distribute those at this point, just chop them. I put my 2 salmon fillets into the microwave with a little splash of water just for 2 minutes because that will make it much easier to get the salmon off of the skin. And now I'm starting to make my fish pie sauce. So I've popped in there about 100 grams of butter and then about 100 grams of flour, plain flour in there, and that makes a bit of a paste. Now I have doubled the recipe for fish pie here. I'm then using about 800 mils of milk. Most recipes call for whole milk. I just used a mixture of what I had. I wanted to use up some semi-skimmed, so I've got quite a bit of semi-skimmed and the whole milk, and I didn't find it made any difference. still made a nice thick sauce. So you want to just keep on stirring and stirring and stirring. Make sure you don't get any lumps. On a side note, just look at the tomato sauce all splashed on the tiles. I did wreck the kitchen. So I'm just popping in there. I've got about 4 large spring onions chopped up. Then I'm putting in the smoked haddock. Then I'm chopping some chives directly into the pan. Put in 2 or 3 handfuls of frozen peas. And then I'm adding the rest of the sweet corn. Give that a really good stir. And now I'm just breaking up the salmon in the pan. Probably would have been a bit easier if I'd broken it up separately, but didn't think about that at the time. And then give that a good mix, and then I added in a packet of pre-cooked prawns, so they just needed to heat through. And the haddock, again, it doesn't take very long at all to cook, so you don't have to simmer this for long once you've got everything in. And everything that I'm cooking and batching today is going to be heated up in the oven. Finally, a couple of really generous teaspoons of English mustard. And you can use Dijon mustards or whatever mustard you like. Now you can see my Mexican chicken bake out there, really nicely browned, and that's just cooling down before I put the lids back on. And then I'm just going to spoon out all of the fish pie mix between the 6 of my tins. And then I'm adding on the mashed potato. I had a little bit too much mashed potato and I saved some back for something else, but I actually never ended up using it. But that was one thing I think I had a little bit too much of. So it was 2 kilograms of potatoes I had, and just could have done with a bit less. I'm using the back of a fork to flatten that down and just make a bit of a pattern on top. Not that anyone really cares. And that then is done. I'm not going to put them in the oven at this point. So I've got my 6 2-person portions of fish pie done. I've got my Mexican bake done. I've got my fajita mix done. And now I'm moving on to make the white sauce for my lasagna. Exactly the same proportions. Again, about 100 grams of butter, about 100 grams of the flour, and then about 800 mils of the milk, and again a bit of a mixture there. Mix until you get out all the lumps and the sauce goes really nice and thick. And then I'm dishing up 1 layer of the meat sauce first in the bottom of the pan, and then I'm adding in, normally I would do 3 layers, but these trays were not big enough, not deep enough, so I ended up doing 2 layers of pasta. If I was making a normal lasagna, I'd aim for 3 layers of pasta. So putting in 1 sheet of lasagna for each one. If you're making a couple of larger lasagnas, then you might get more pasta in. A layer of the white sauce, and then just keep repeating the process. So another layer of mince sauce, another layer of mince, and then another layer of pasta, and then I finished off with the white sauce on top, and then finally a layer of grated mozzarella cheese. I didn't put these in the oven to bake either, so I left them to cool down, and while they would have been cooling down, the pasta would have been softening with all of the meat sauce and the white sauce. And then when it comes to getting them out of the freezer, I will bake them for a decent amount of time in the oven to make sure that they're all like fully cooked through again in terms of the pasta.
now the very final thing that I have to do is to dish up my bolognese sauce. So I've made 2 family sized portions here, so I'm using my larger freezer bags. You can see how the stand adjusts.
Oh my goodness guys, I'm so glad that I did do this batch cook before my big deep clean of the kitchen tomorrow. I have, as you'll have seen, I have had a tidy up of the kitchen. I couldn't leave it an actual literal bomb site before bed. So I've had a wipe round. I have wiped the worst of the splatter off the back of the hob and the hob. But I'm going to be doing a mega deep clean of the kitchen tomorrow, so really excited for that. But what I have got here is 2 family sized portions of fajita mix, 2 family sized portions of bolognese sauce, and then in these containers are kind of 2 to 3 person sized portions of lasagna. So I've got 6 2 person sized portions of lasagna. Then the Mexican chicken bake is, I mean, I've crammed that in. That's definitely like a 3 to 4 person portion. I've got 4 of those, and then I have 6 of the 2 person portion fish pies. So really pleased. My battery ran out just as I was decanting the bolognese sauce into the bags. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but these freezer bags are new to me, and I will put a link in the description. I'm really pleased with them, and the stand that came with the pack that you put the bags in when you're filling them up was so helpful and so easy to use. So they are freezable, and they are microwavable, and they are dishwasherable, which was key because so many that I saw had to be hand washed, and I just wouldn't get around to that. That's big enough for me. It has to be super simple with small children. So I'm going to put lids on these. I have given it a while. Mostly everything is cooled down nicely. Maybe bolognese just needs a little bit longer. So yeah, I'm going to put lids on. The bags come with, like, let me show you, these like sliders. So they're really thick, like plastic sliders. So yeah, not sure which way. Oh look, so easy. Friday tomorrow, so it'll be just me and my husband eating lunch. I'm going to keep one of the chicken bakes out for us, and then I'm going to keep bolognese sauce and a fajita mix out for the weekend for us as a family. Everything else is going in the freezer, ready for when baby arrives, and if baby takes her time, then I will do another batch. It is just past midnight and I need to get to bed. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, it really does help. And I will see you in the next one, which will probably be my kitchen deep clean. Bye guys.